welcome back to Robin's Nest. This is our third episode. I can't believe it. And I thought that I would introduce myself a little bit and thank you guys so much for all of your support. I really, really appreciate it. We've had so much more interest than I ever expected. As I've said, I really just wanted to do this as a platform for myself, to be able to express myself, because I have a lot of feelings all the time. And that so many people are interested in it really, really makes me feel super excited and supported. So thank you so much. For those that don't know me, my name is Robin Kevlis-Nekowitz. I am a psychotherapist for the last 30 years, and I am a mom. I have two children. One is 21 and one is 18. And I have a book that I wrote called Go Take a Bath, A Powerful Self-Care Approach to Extraordinary Parenting, which you can purchase on Amazon. And you can also follow me on Robins_Nest_pod on Instagram, or at Parent Assist on Facebook. So I just wanted to make sure I got all that out at the beginning so that when I forget it at the end, at least it's out there. And my guest this week, I decided it was time to take a break from all things Nekowitz and move on to some friendships and talk about some new topics. So today I would like to introduce to you an old friend of mine named Lori Rice Spring. So hello, Lori.
Hi, Robin.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Lori and I met in graduate school. We graduated from the same program at Temple University, counseling psychology. And
what year, Robin?
Well, we graduated in 95.
Yes.
And I think that we met in 93.
Correct.
Wow, that's pretty good. And I thought we would start by just talking a little bit, because I've never heard your version of this story. I don't believe.
I hope I remember it. My memory is not good.
Okay, either is mine, but I do very, very vividly remember meeting you. And I'm curious what your memory is of us meeting and also of us becoming friends. What's your take on it?
I do not remember the very first time I saw you. I only remember the class that we met in, and that was, wasn't it in Research Methods and Statistics?
That is correct.
Okay, so that I do remember.
Okay.
I do remember that, and I remember very shortly after the start of the program. Did we start in September or August? Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
In that summer of 93.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember we just found each other very shortly and early on in the process, and ended up going every break. We'd head out to the trucks together to grab a bite to eat. You just would come right from school, from work.
Correct.
And I would come from being home with my daughter and going, yes. So I do remember that it was nice having a friend early on in that program, because I was really nervous.
And your memory is that we became friends in the statistics class?
Well, I just remember talking to you in and out of that class and then building from there.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm pretty foggy with the evolution of the course, with our evolution of friendship. But I just always remember that, we were friends. So clearly you have a different memory of it. I have
a slightly different memory of it. Because I have big reactions.
Of course.
So I can remember that I had a big reaction to you in the statistics class. And then I had a very different reaction
in the group class.
In the group class, exactly.
That I remember
group
too.
Psychotherapy. And what do you remember about that?
I remember that class just being really good, but hard, emotionally difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do remember having some emotional moments. And I actually remember the first time you put me in my place, which was in that class.
Really?
All right, yes.
What did I say?
Okay, so we were in a group. We were in a example, right? We were participating in a small group within the class on some topic. And you were talking about something, and I challenged you in the group. I can't even remember what it was. And I'm like, are you sure that's what that's about? And when we went to the trucks for dinner, you're like, don't bring up crap I told you in private, in group.
I did?
Yes, you did. And I was like, oh, she's so right. She was, and then I didn't disclose anything, but you had told me something about, I don't know, there was something going on for you, nothing major, but you had, yeah, and you were like, oh, we're not having this. And it was really, I was like taken aback, but then I was like, you know, she's absolutely right. And that was, this actually made it to my notes because,
really?
yes, because it was for me, one of the first times I had someone I really cared about tell me something that they didn't like that I had done, and they weren't mad at me.
Oh,
They just said, don't do that. That didn't feel good. I didn't like it.
Wow.
And then we were back to talking about whatever we were having for dinner at the truck.
Wow.
And my head was like,
wow,
you know,
I don't remember any of that. And it's
Yeah.
so surprising to me because my life is such an open book, as evidenced by the fact that I just had my 2 kids on the podcast, right? I mean, I don't really hide anything. So that is just so, I mean, the calling you out about something is very Robin-esque for sure. But the topic that you would have brought up something personal in the group, that I don't remember that at all. So here is my memory.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you're going
Very different.
Okay.
Very, very, very different.
Okay.
I remember meeting you in statistics. I can remember where you were sitting. And I remember thinking you were a total know-it-all because you had your hand up constantly, constantly. I got the answer to that. Yep, I know that. I know that. And I was sitting back there. I was like 3 rows behind you, rolling my eyes constantly like, oh my God, this girl, I can't stand this girl. This girl is so annoying. Oh my God. I do not remember us ever becoming friends in statistics because I did not like you. And then we were in the group class together. And I remember like it was yesterday that you were crying about Grace.
Yeah.
Lori has children that we'll talk about, but her oldest child is Grace, and it was the only child that you had at the time. And she was a toddler.
Yeah, she was 2.
Correct.
2.5 by then.
And you were crying because you were not with her. You were at school and you were feeling very torn about all this. And then you went to the bathroom. You don't remember this? You went to the bathroom. You left the group, you went into the bathroom and you just started crying. And then I walked into the bathroom and saw you crying.
Yes,
and then we started to
that.
talk. That's how we became friends. And I was talking to you about how you were feeling. And suddenly you became very, very human to me instead of this super smarty pants kind of girl. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, as our friendship grew and I matured, I realized that it wasn't that I didn't like you. It was that you were very similar to me. And it was kind of like, too many chiefs, not enough Indians kind of thing. Like, you know, listen, there's only going to be one head honcho in this counseling program, and that person is going to be me. And you were a humongous threat because you were so good. I mean, you were so good at everything that I was good at. So, you know, I just felt really, really threatened, I think, at that time. And then when I saw you in the bathroom and you were crying about your daughter, I'm like, oh, she's just a human. She's not, you know, this super, you know, super smarty pants just trying to show me up.
No.
And somehow, I mean, and then we have stayed friends all these years later, which is remarkable, really.
It is. What is it? How many years is that? It'll be 30 years. It'll be 30 years in 2030. Yeah, it's like 17 years. No. 27 years. That's amazing.
27 years. Yeah. And it's especially amazing because we don't live near each other. No. I mean, we live close enough that we're able to meet in the middle, usually in Center City. But yeah, we have not really met.
And what's so remarkable too is that we can go long periods, like we're not phone talkers.
No, I'm not at all.
You know, so we don't like check each other on the phone. We can go 3, 4, 5, 6 months sometimes without talking. And then we have our lunch dates and one of us will be like, it's time, it's too long, let's get together and do lunch. And then it's like we saw each other yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah. So Lori and I graduated top of our class. Not that that is surprising to anyone who knows us. But you really, our program had this, we both took it, this school counseling track. You could do school counseling or community. And we both took the school counseling, and then you decided to go really into the school counseling, and I took the road of agency work leading to private practice.
Right.
Yeah. So even though like we had the same exact training at the same exact program with the exact same professors, we just kind of went on two
Yeah.
different paths. That made sense for both of us, for sure.
Right.
Because I, for one, cannot work with anybody. I shouldn't say work. That was probably a Freudian slip. I probably can't work with anyone, but I cannot work for anyone.
Yeah.
I really needed to work for myself. And so my goal of private practice was always where I was headed. And you
Yeah,
didn't
and
really want to do that.
It so fits your personality and your style.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely miserable.
Yeah. Why was
Because,
that?
well, there was a couple of things. I mean, one, I just wanted to work during the day, number one. But number two, it was just, I felt isolated. I didn't like not being on a team. And so as much as I feel like I'm an introvert in a lot of ways, like I really need downtime at home in my own space. I need time away from people. I also really like, kind of like what Zoe was saying yesterday, I also do really like to be around people. I like to laugh, I like to vent, and I really like working with students, with adolescents on a team.
Okay.
And I have good organizational skills, so I get to be a leader in a lot of opportunities at work,
Right.
which I really enjoy. And so it just fit me perfectly. I've said, yeah, forever that it's the perfect job for me.
Fabulous. So now that you're in this perfect job for the last however number of years, and then COVID hits,
Oh my God.
what has that been like for you? Because I know that when we met, the last time we saw each other, you were pretty freaked out about COVID. And you were, at that time, I think it was the summer, so you weren't back at school. Is that right? Yeah. And now I think you are back at school?
Uh-huh.
Oh God. So I can't even imagine, because I know that you were really, really, really concerned.
Well, I would say I'm not freaked out. I'm actually
Okay.
working with some people who are freaked out.
Okay.
And I judge no one with their reactions.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that flat out.
Okay.
I am not, this is hard. So now that the kids are starting to trickle in and we're starting to have hybrid people on campus and stuff, it's exhausting. And it's exhausting because there's this, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this, there's this hypervigilance when you're in crowds of people and you're working, it's like being in Trader Joe's all day long. Because when you're, at least for me, when I'm in Trader Joe's, I'm always watching, is everyone masked? Is this person 6 feet from me? Am I too close? Do I feel comfortable? And I'm not freaking out. I'm just constantly aware of what's happening. Well, now I have that at school, and I'll turn the corner and someone won't have their mask on correctly, or someone's too close, or the administrator is standing next to a group of kids and isn't telling them to separate. Do I go in and say, you aren't 6 feet apart? It's like all day long. Right. And it's really hard. It's hard. And I can only imagine how hard it is for the parents who are sending their kids and not knowing if they're going to be safe. It's hard because these are adolescents that don't make good judgments all the time. Right. And that's not their fault, Right. So, I have to now navigate kids coming into my office, students coming in for an appointment in my office that I can barely make 6 feet between my seat and their seat. Wow. And I can't open a window. Wow. And so, I bought my own air cleaner. I'm considering putting up a clear shower curtain in my office, which some of my teacher colleagues have done around their desk. I mean, it's so crazy. It's hard. So it's a lot to process. And then you're doing your work on top of it, and you're doing your work differently than you've ever done. Like, with Zoom, you've never prepared for this, right, So, but, I want to say all that and couch it in, I'm coming from a place of privilege in my life where I have financial opportunity. I mean, I have the financial needs. My needs are met. I haven't lost my job. My husband hasn't lost his job. I have a home. I say that all knowing that there are people out there who are really, really suffering. Absolutely. Who have lost everything, lost loved ones. And so in no way do I want, to paint
I think that you can
party.
never, but you can't really compare pain, right? I mean, like, I have clients who you would say come from privilege, and they are really suffering also emotionally. Some of them have multiple young elementary school level kids in the house, trying to manage your own calm among, trying to also get your kids educated, to also trying to get them to stop fighting with each other.
I can't imagine.
It's so much, for people to have to deal with, regardless of, yes, people that I can't even imagine, like the people who don't have internet, how are they, even educating their students?
Right.
But everybody is going through a lot. And I don't know. And one of the reasons I even wanted to do this podcast is I don't know that people are really talking to each other. I mean, I know that there's like these casual passing comments, how you doing? Oh, 2020, it's rough, but there's so much suffering, deep despair and suffering, that so many people, no matter where you're at on the privilege scale, you're struggling in your own way. And people are feeling very alone and very inadequate. You seem to be handling it fine. You seem to be handling it fine. Why aren't I handling it fine? I haven't met anyone handling it fine. No one.
No. When I went into a colleague's room and saw the shower curtain around her room, and she just lost it with me and just vented. She said, I'm tired of feeling crazy all the time, because I'm around some people that are not taking this seriously. And so it was very validating to see this completely put together woman, like completely put together in every way possible. And she's like, I'm going to the doctor. I've never been sick like this before. My whole body hurts. I have GI problems. I mean, this is real stuff. And it's exhausting. It's frightening. And I agree. I do take advantage of my lunch, and I talk to my colleagues, and everyone is feeling this pain.
Absolutely crazy. So in my private practice, I was kind of like a diehard. I really, left seeing my clients in person kicking and screaming. I was definitely one of the last ones to go. I really, really like to see my clients in person. I felt, and this is early on in the pandemic, I really felt like, oh, well, we'll just all, it'll be fine. The numbers aren't that bad in Bucks County. I'm only seeing one person at a time. I mean, I had every justification in the world. People are overreacting. And it wasn't really until I was walking around my neighborhood one day, and one of my neighbors is a nurse, and she's extremely, she has a very high risk tolerance. So she's not somebody who would be the first one to be saying, this is really scary. But she's a nurse. And I stopped her and I said, listen, I'm still seeing my clients. As long as we're like 6 feet apart and I have the window open, you think I'm okay? Like, I'm totally waiting for her to be like, fine, you're fine. Like, people are really. And she said, absolutely not. You need to stop seeing your clients today. And it really threw me back. And I was
When was that, Robin?
Oh, it was very early in the pandemic. I mean, but a lot of my colleagues, like, they quickly went online. I was like maybe 2 weeks after them, 2-3 weeks. I mean, it was still March. Early April, late March, I would say. But I just could not even imagine in my wildest dreams that I was going to start seeing my clients on a computer screen. Like, I just could not accept it in any way. I'm not very techie at all. So I just could not imagine it. And I pick up people's energies. So much of my work is about energy.
I know.
And how was I going to pick up that energy? So I was just pretty upset. But everybody went online. I lost, I would say, at least half of my clients just said, I'm not doing Zoom. So half my practice left. So that was scary. But then I started to think about, like, as things started to open up, once we went into the green zone in my county, I started to think about how can I open up safely to see some people. Because some people need to be seen in person,
Yeah.
because the mental health aspect of this is not being talked about nearly enough. Yes, people are talking about like that abuse is going up, you know, domestic violence is going up, alcoholism is going up, but I don't think people really, really get it. I mean, like this
Right.
is really serious stuff,
Yes.
and people are suffering. And
Yes.
I was having clients saying, I want to come in, I need to get out of the house. And so I started researching and trying to figure out a safe way to open. And I did do what I call soft open. And the reason I call it soft is of all of my clients, only 3 have returned in person. So I see 1 to 2 clients each day. I always disinfect. I have the air purifier. I have the window open. I wear a mask. They wear a mask. I originally thought I wasn't going to go back without wearing a mask, because how do you do therapy if both people are wearing a mask? But you figure it out. But there are pros and cons of both, of doing Zoom and having them in person. And it's hard to talk for an hour with a mask on.
I know.
It's fine. I have no problem wearing a mask at the store because I'm not talking. I'm just breathing.
Right.
I'm not interacting with people.
I know.
But talking, and as expressive as I am,
I know, it's
and
really
loud
hard.
as I can be, you know, like I'm constantly like, the mask is falling down, I'm putting it back up. It's stressful. We're making it work, but it's not great.
No.
And I don't see an end, honestly.
No, I still struggle with, I'm a news junkie. And so I struggle with, I like being informed. I don't like being in the dark. So I like knowing and hearing, and that's, you know, I'm pretty confident when I say this is going to be a very ugly winter, and I'm anticipating it being extremely ugly. I don't see any, and I'm just scared for seeing my family. I am not going to get to see my family, my mom, my mother-in-law, and that's hard. And
it's so hard, and I just think, one of the things I keep saying to every client, and I mean this in every way, like how Oprah said, you get a car and you get a car and you get a car. Well, I keep saying, you get a pass and you get a pass and you get a pass. Like everybody gets a pass this year. I have had clients who keep missing their appointments, and they're like, oh my God, I'm really sorry, I missed my appointment. It's fine. You get a pass. And I think that we have to be excruciatingly gentle with ourselves and with everybody else, that nothing is the same. We are in the middle of a deep, deep, deep transition, and nothing is as it was. And we are in the process of letting go, because for a long time, I think many of us were holding on to the old way.
Yeah,
when can we go back to this old way that we used to be?
Right.
And this old way is never coming back.
It's not.
It's never coming back. We are going to be moving and transitioning into a whole new world. And the faster we can kind of let go of that control and move into, like, where is this current going to take us on this river? And just accept it for what it is. Radical acceptance. Yet again, I'm going to put another shout out for radical acceptance, because to me, that's what 2020 is really all about.
Yes.
It is a deep, deep, deep lesson in radical acceptance, because we can't control a friggin' thing.
Nope.
So, the only thing we can control is how well we handle things we can't control.
Exactly.
That's it. That's all we can. That's all we can do.
Exactly right.
Which is a beautiful transition into both parenting and the State of the Union. Which would you prefer to talk about right now?
Well, I think as much as I would, I'm gonna say let's do parenting at the end, so we end on a better note. Because
is that a better note? Okay.
Yeah, well, based on the state of, if you had to compare with the State of the Union, and we're talking about radical acceptance, and we're talking about how off kilter this whole world is, and how on fire we feel.
Right.
This to me is the perfect segue to what the hell is happening, and how are we ever going to survive it?
Right.
And my level of anxiety for the election rivals my anxiety level for COVID. I am so nervous. I'm calling and doing my weekly phone banking for Biden. I'm I've got signs everywhere. I'm doing what I can spare time-wise and emotionally. And I've given money away to different causes across the country. But I'm petrified. So, and I'm really, really frightened and nervous and anxious, and I have a pit in my stomach because I remember all too well what happened 4 years ago, and it was like 4 years ago today that the tape came out about Trump.
Grab him by the
grab him by the what that happened today, and like then the Podesta email started coming out. So literally, Hillary was ahead at this point, not as ahead as Biden is, but she was ahead. Okay. And I remember talking with you about this all the time then. And I remember the stress and the worry. Yeah. I mean, I remember how good I felt the day of election night. I remember where I was. I remember joking with people. I remember going to bed early because I was really tired and I wasn't feeling well. I was like, this is in the bag. Yes. I can't. Yes.
It's very important for the people to know that I shouldn't speak for you. I think that this is true for you, but I will say for me, and you can say how it was for you. I was absolutely not just anti-Trump. I was very pro-Hillary.
Oh, no, I was totally pro-Hillary. I didn't canvass for her like you worked for the campaign. Right. Oh, I was absolutely pro-Hillary. I had no reservations at all.
I did not either. And I was really taken aback at the level of negative propaganda that was being thrown in her direction. That people were buying hook, line, and sinker, left and right.
And people have a real problem with strong women.
Absolutely.
A lot of women have.
No one knows that better than us, Lori. No one knows that better than us.
No.
As two strong feminist women.
No.
And people have huge reactions to that.
Yes.
So because I was so pro-Hillary, and Trump is just such an imbecile, I mean, just so clearly inept and inadequate and gross and vile in every possible way, there was not 1 ounce of me that thought that Hillary wasn't going to win.
Of course,
and
me
yes,
neither.
Right. And I did work for the campaign, and the energy of the campaign on election day was beyond high. I mean, it was.
I was down in Philly the night before. I remember everything about that.
I remember the whole Obama thing.
Yes, I remember seeing everybody, and I mean, I stood in line after line after line, and I didn't even get into the venue. It didn't matter. I mean, this was like a slam dunk.
It was a slam dunk.
It was a slam dunk, and so I have not recovered. I have been in a state of chaos for 4 years, and I will never forget. And this was in my notes to talk about today. I'll never forget where you and I were the day of inauguration. Where were we?
We were in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were at your condo, and we were sitting there, and we were talking about. We were in complete and utter denial. We were like, we can't even talk about it.
I know.
We missed the big women's march because we were in Florida, but we just, consoled. We didn't do that on purpose. It was just a fluke.
Right.
And we just completely consoled ourselves, and we're in complete denial about what was happening.
I had one of those gut-wrenching sobs the night of election, and then the day after election, and then I realized I couldn't work. I mean, my whole world was shattered because everything that has happened does not surprise me at all. I just felt like I had to brace myself and my daughters for what was about to, the hell that was about to come down on us. And it has.
Yes.
And, and I realize that I'm a psychotherapist, and I realize that I'm putting all of my political views out there. But when I say I don't care, I cannot say I don't care enough. This is who I am. If that means that I lose clients, if that means that I lose friends in my family, I've lost my own brother. If whatever, I cannot in any way accept what is happening. It breaks my heart. I mean, because I have, and the part that I really don't understand is that I have seen really, really good people. My brother is a good person. I had a very, very, very good friend who I really, really love. And I've seen these people vote for this vile human being and continue to support him today. I can't make sense of it. It has completely turned my world upside down.
Well, I have 3 children, and not to segue to the children part, but I feel like I need to say at this point that my middle child, my son Torben, I don't know that he is a Trump supporter. I don't know that he is. He's never actually said that. He's a young man of fewer words. But he is not a supporter of my political beliefs.
Okay.
And so I would call him considerably conservative, where I'm as progressively left-wing liberal as I could call myself. And so that has been an interesting, growthful experience for me and for my husband and for my girls, who are both very liberal.
Wow.
So
how have you managed it?
Starting with love. And seeing my son as my son, who I love and adore, and know that he is a good person who can't walk through our living room without cuddling up the dogs and giving them a kiss, and who would help anybody on the street if they needed it. And so I'm just accepting his growth and his development as his own, and he's his own person. And we have we decide, we sort of actively avoid conversations that we think could get us into trouble as far as politics, and we just don't go there. And we don't watch each other's newscasts in front. I mean, he doesn't live with me; he's on his own. But so I feel your pain. I feel that the difficulty with losing relationships, but I'm I have to maintain this relationship at all costs, right? So it's interesting. It's hard. Yeah,
I can't imagine it, because I know the pain that I'm in with the lost relationships.
Right.
And I think all the time, and I talk all the time, like, do you think I can reconcile with this person and just not talk politics? Do you think I can and I really would love to. I mean, I would love to, but I can't, because I am who I am. And in the core of my soul, I feel so personally threatened by this man. That I feel so personally threatened that anybody that would support a person that would make me feel so wildly unsafe, and that it's not just in my head. I mean, I have so much evidence from the choices that he's made and the things that he's done. But I feel, how could anyone that I love support somebody that would harm me and the people that I love? How could you? Like, I just can't wrap my brain around it, and I wish I could.
I know, it's hard to fathom. Yeah.
So let's move on to parenting. And why don't you? I'm curious if you even listened to my last 2 podcasts with my daughters.
Of course I did.
And what were your thoughts about listening to that?
I first of all, you all have the same laugh. And you sound so much alike. The girls sound so much alike.
That's funny.
I had this warm feeling in me when I was listening to them talk with you about just there's just such obvious love and adoration in both relationships. You can hear it between the girls and how they talked about each other, and I could certainly hear it with the way they spoke of you. Even Zoe's sharp digs or very polished critiques, which I loved.
Yeah, I appreciated that she kept them polished.
Yeah, she was very polished. So I really, really enjoyed it. I loved the topics you talked about, and it was really wonderful. Yeah.
What are your thoughts about parenting now? How old are your kids now?
29, 23, and 21.
And how are you feeling about parenting at this stage of the game? And what do you wish you knew then that you know now?
Well, let me say that I have to say, and I wrote something down.
Okay.
I have to say that my relationship with you, Robin, is probably one of the most meaningful for me throughout my whole life. And really that's tied into parenting. And the reason I say that is because you gave me the room. First of all, you never held back your thoughts and opinions, which at times were brutal, and I appreciate it. Not at the time, but I always appreciate it. And so it was your patience in letting me find my way that was so meaningful to me.
Well, thank you. I'm
So,
so happy.
it was really helpful for me. So I came into parenting with very strong feminist opinions. I started parenting sort of with my birthing process, even with like, I'm going to do this completely independently, and I'm going to midwives because I want it to be women centered, and so I was just intentional, as you had mentioned in your previous podcasts about parenting, that I remember vividly taking the Dr. Seuss books that I got, especially Are You My Mother? I'll never forget that little blue book, Are You My Mother? And I would cross out the he's and add she's and all the, generic male pronouns. And my kids still save those and laugh at me like, oh, Mom, you were such a radical. But so, parenting was really intense, and growing up with, well, I don't really want to get into my parenting, but for my kids and my husband and I, we just really did it. We worked really hard. We really engaged in a lot of therapy, couples counseling, and my therapy to be the best parent I could be, and work toward unlearning or coming to terms with things that I didn't appreciate maybe in my childhood or in my upbringing that I really wanted to break cycles of. But the limit setting was hard for me in that I think the biggest struggle for me and the biggest learning curve I had for me was allowing myself to be first in parenting, and growing into that took some time for me.
What do you wish you knew now, Ben, that you know now?
I guess the most important thing would be to trust the process. That it works. Eventually it works.
Yes.
So
and ironically, Lori, I have a very similar takeaway. Like if there's anything, especially now that my kids are grown and I still work a lot with parents, I'm a parenting coach along with being a couples therapist and individual. I see that parents fret over so many things that just don't matter.
Yeah.
They just don't matter. And I don't know that anyone could have told me that then either.
Yeah,
I'm not judging them in terms of, like, why can't they just get over themselves? I mean, at the time when you're going through hard times, and parenting is extremely difficult for everyone, it's just, there's no book on it. Well, I did write a book. So, there is some book on it, and there are other books on it, but there's no book for your specific child.
Yeah.
And I think I even said this in one of the previous podcasts, that the greatest gift that we can give our kids is to figure out what they need individually and parent to that specific child.
Yes.
But a lot of that is a learn as you go.
It is.
So you're making a million mistakes as you're going through the process.
Yes.
And it doesn't always look very pretty.
No.
Through the process.
Rarely.
But at the end, they're fine.
No.
They're really fine. They're fine.
Yeah, I mean, they're fine. There are definitely a variety of fines, though. So, a shout out to the parents who have had to worry about addiction, and or health issues and stuff like that. So yes, I mean, one can hope that they are fine, but I believe that most of the time it figures itself out, and they figure it out. And I remember finally really understanding how little I knew when, after my youngest was sort of almost through high school, and she's going to be a senior in college now. She's a senior now in college, but I remember being at work one day and having to talk to a parent, and they were asking me advice and about something that was going on with their child. And I remember thinking to myself, I should take out an advertisement in the local newspaper in Delaware County and just say, you know what? I apologize to anyone I ever spoke to within the last 10 years, while my kids were not, before my kids ever hit high school, and gave you parenting advice and told you that it was you needed to do this, or if I were you, I would do this. I am sorry. And that I had absolutely no business doing that. But that also, here are the things I've learned. And, I joke with people about it and my kids, but, I start from like, I don't believe what you say 90% of the time as an adolescent. And I mean, I have these funny kind of quips to make it, to lighten the mood, but definitely like the things I've learned through parenting are life lessons that I use every single day. And of course I'm still parenting. I mean, I know I'm not parenting on a daily basis, but I'm still limit setting. I'm still limit setting for me. I'm putting like all boundaries and expectations and for sure.
Absolutely. I'll leave, we're running out of time, but I will leave you with this. One of the best, I got a couple pieces of really good parenting advice. I'll save some for future podcasts.
Okay.
But one of the ones that sticks with me is that when Arlie was born and I was a brand new mother and I went away without her, I was away from her for the first time. And I don't remember how old she was, but I remember that I was at some kind of conference and I met total strangers at a lunch table. And I, whip out the picture of my child. And I said, oh, I had a baby recently and this is her. And isn't she beautiful? And I love her so much. And I can't believe I love her so much. And I always knew that I would love my child, but I never knew I would love them this deep and this much. And this total stranger who I could not pick out of a lineup today, I would not recognize him, but something he said has stuck with me all these years, which is that he says, you see that feeling that you have right now, that deep, deep, deep love that you feel for your child that you didn't even know you were capable of? I said, yeah. He says, that the birth of that child and that love that you now feel for this child, you will feel that same depth of rage, disappointment, joy, all the feelings, all the things, that it has opened up a reservoir of feelings that you never even knew you had in your body, right?
That is so true.
Right?
Oh my gosh,
and every
that's
time
true.
I have a profound feeling of joy or pride or rage or disappointment or despair, or all the things that you go through over the course of parenting, I remember this guy saying, you brace yourself, just absolutely brace yourself for what is to come. And it is just the truth. It is the truth. And the other thing that I think is critically important that I want to leave the folks with is to role model the life you wish for your child. None of this sacrificing yourself for the good of, putting your child first and all of that. That's why my book is all about self-care. Really role modeling the life that you wish for your child. So, yes. So with that, I want to thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing so much of yourself. Absolutely. And thank you for your honesty and for sharing so much of yourself. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I want to remind everybody that you can follow me on Instagram and that you can also get my book, Go Take a Bath, A Powerful Self-Care Approach to Extraordinary Parenting, on Amazon. And you can follow me on Facebook at Parent Assist. And with that, I will say goodbye. Thank you so much for being here.
Bye, Robin.
Bye.